It was a cold November evening in New York City, the kind of night when the rain falls not in drops but in sheets, turning the streets into rivers and the people into ghosts behind umbrellas. The city pulsed with life as it always did, but beneath the glittering towers and luxury cars, there was a different kind of story unfolding on the cracked pavement of a forgotten street. Alexandra Pierce, a woman known to the world as one of the richest and most powerful businesswomen in America, sat in the back of her black limousine, scrolling through business reports on her tablet. She had built her empire from the ground up. Luxury hotels, fashion lines, tech startups, everything she touched turned to gold. But tonight, as her car slowed at a red light near Fifth Avenue, something made her look up. There, in the dim glow of a flickering streetlight, huddled beneath a tattered blanket, sat a young woman clutching two small children in her arms. Their clothes were soaked, their faces pale, and their eyes wide with hunger. Alexandra's driver shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am, it's not safe to stop here," he murmured. But Alexandra raised a hand. "Wait." Her gaze lingered on the woman's trembling form. Something inside her, something she hadn't felt in years, stirred. Maybe it was pity, maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was recognition of a pain she herself once knew. She stepped out into the rain without a word. The beggar woman flinched as the tall figure approached, her designer heels splashing through puddles, her expensive coat catching droplets like diamonds. "Hey," Alexandra said softly, kneeling down so their eyes met. "Are you all right?" The beggar's lips trembled. "Please, my babies are cold. We've been out here since morning. I tried the shelter, but they said they were full." Alexandra's heart clenched. She looked at the children, a boy and a girl, no older than 4. They were shivering, their tiny hands blue with cold. "What's your name?" Alexandra asked. "Maya," the woman whispered. "Maya Thompson." Alexandra's breath caught for a moment, though she didn't know why. The name tugged at something distant in her memory. She brushed it off. "Come with me," she said firmly. "You're not staying here another minute." Her driver opened the door reluctantly, and soon the soaked woman and her children were wrapped in blankets in the backseat. The warmth made the children drowsy. Alexandra watched as the little boy leaned against his mother's arm and whispered, "Mommy, the angel lady saved us." Alexandra smiled faintly but felt a lump form in her throat. It had been years since anyone had called her an angel. The car sped through the streets until they reached the grand entrance of the Pierce Towers, her most prized hotel. The staff gawked as their impeccably dressed employer walked through the lobby with a drenched beggar and 2 shivering children. "Prepare a suite," she ordered. "Hot food, dry clothes, and call the doctor." Within minutes, warmth, light, and comfort replaced the cold. Maya stood awkwardly in the center of the luxurious suite, her hands trembling as she watched her children devour plates of soup and bread. "You don't have to do this," she murmured. "You've already done more than anyone ever has." Alexandra shook her head. "No one deserves to be left out there in that weather," she said. "Especially not children." Maya looked at her, eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." Alexandra smiled gently. "You don't need to. Just take care of them." As the days passed, Alexandra visited often. Something about Maya's quiet strength and the way she cared for her children drew Alexandra in. She found herself lingering after work, reading to the kids, bringing them toys, even tucking them in. It was a strange, unfamiliar warmth that filled her chest, one she hadn't felt since her own heartbreak years ago. You see, Alexandra had once been married. Her husband, David Pierce, had been her partner in everything. In business, in dreams, in love. But 3 years ago, he vanished. One day he left home, saying he needed time to think, and never returned. No calls, no letters. The police found no trace. Alexandra had buried her pain beneath her empire, pretending she'd moved on. But deep down, she never had. One afternoon, as Maya folded the children's clothes, Alexandra brought in some toys. "They'll love these," she said with a smile. Maya's eyes widened when she saw the brand. "These are so expensive. I can't accept." "You can," Alexandra interrupted. "They're gifts." The little girl ran up to Alexandra and hugged her leg. "Thank you, Auntie Lexi," she chirped. Alexandra's heart melted. "You can call me whatever you like, sweetheart." Over the following weeks, their bond deepened. Alexandra learned bits of Maya's story, that she'd lost her home, that her husband had disappeared 2 years ago, leaving her with debts and babies. The more she listened, the more her heart ached. One night, unable to sleep, Alexandra stood by the window of her penthouse suite overlooking the city. Her mind wandered to Maya's words, "He left one night and never came back." A cold shiver ran through her. The timelines, they matched too perfectly. The next morning, Alexandra arrived at the hotel earlier than usual. The children were in the lounge, playing with building blocks. The boy looked up and smiled, his hazel eyes glimmering in the sunlight. Hazel eyes, just like David's. Alexandra froze. Her chest tightened. She felt her pulse pounding in her ears as she knelt beside him. "Hey, buddy," she said softly. "How old are you?" "4," he said proudly. Her heart sank. 4 years. David had disappeared 4 years ago. Her hands trembled. "Do you know your daddy's name?" she asked gently. The boy smiled innocently. "Daddy's name is David." The world seemed to spin. Alexandra's breath caught as her mind screamed in denial. She turned toward Maya, who stood frozen at the doorway, pale and trembling. "David Pierce," Alexandra whispered. "Your husband, was David Pierce." Maya's lips parted, her eyes filling with tears. "Yes," she whispered. He told me he was separated. He said he loved me but had to leave one day and never came back. I thought he died." Alexandra stumbled backward, clutching the table for support. The truth slammed into her like a tidal wave. The beggar she'd saved was the woman her husband had betrayed her with. And the children she'd grown to love, were his. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. Maya fell to her knees, sobbing. "I didn't know," she cried. "I swear I didn't know who you were. I thought he was just a businessman who lost everything. When he left me too, I was broken. I never meant." Alexandra's tears spilled over. Anger, betrayal, confusion, all collided inside her. She wanted to scream, to hate, to walk away. But then she looked at the children, innocent, fragile, sleeping in the corner. They had no part in this. They were victims of choices made by adults who'd lost their way. Alexandra took a trembling breath. "I don't blame you," she said finally, her voice breaking. "He's the one who lied to both of us." Maya looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. "You should hate me." Alexandra shook her head. "No, hate only breeds more pain. And I've lived with enough of that." She knelt beside Maya, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You and the kids deserve better. I can't change the past, but I can make sure you never suffer like this again." From that moment, something shifted. Alexandra didn't turn Maya away. Instead, she gave her a home, a job, and a future. She enrolled the children in school, made sure they never went hungry, and slowly, a new kind of family began to form. One built not on blood or betrayal, but forgiveness and love. In time, the pain softened. Alexandra realized that maybe the universe had brought Maya into her life for a reason, not to reopen old wounds, but to heal them. Months later, on a bright spring morning, the children ran through the gardens of Alexandra's estate, laughter echoing through the air. Maya sat beside Alexandra on the bench, watching them with quiet gratitude. "You changed our lives," Maya whispered. Alexandra smiled. "No," she said softly. "You changed mine." For the first time in years, her heart felt light. The rain that had once soaked her soul had finally stopped. And as the children's laughter filled the air, Alexandra knew, sometimes the people who break us are the same ones who lead us to those who make us whole again. Because compassion has a strange way of finding its way home, even through pain, even through betrayal, even through shattered hearts.